are important distinctions between human rights cases and civil cases involving the issue of liability, that is, the process in which the employer may be found liable for wrongdoing based on a human rights violation. In human rights world, the standard of evidence required to prove a case of adverse treatment does not require direct evidence. In fact, very often, direct evidence is not present where allegations are made of racial discrimination or discrimination based on gender or age or religion. Very often, the tribunal hearing the case will consider circumstantial evidence to determine if there should be a finding of wrongdoing. The law is that relatively little affirmative evidence is required to show a finding of liability. In fact, the tribunal can use an inference. They can come to the inference that the employer is likely liable for the alleged violation. The words used are the subtle scent of discrimination may be determined, which would give rise to this finding of liability. And also, two recent cases in British Columbia, these cases have not yet been followed in other jurisdictions, have used the presence of an historical disadvantage to lead to a finding of liability. Now, we all know that human rights legislation is intended to correct historical disadvantages, which is fine, well intended, and should be. But to use an existing historical disadvantage to lead to a finding of liability, that's another step, and it's one that's likely to be challenged in the future. The one case involving this analysis involved a gentleman who was black, who was accused of misusing his corporate credit card. He had used the card contrary to the policy of the employer. There was an investigation conducted, and it was found the investigation was tainted by this historical disadvantage and the subtle scent of discrimination. The individual was successful in his case. He won a total damage award of $583,000 of lost income, and also a further $50,000 for compensatory damages, that is, damages for hurt feelings. So you can see these are very, very powerful remedies, and the liability bar is fairly low in human rights. So beware and be smart and act accordingly.